Welcome one, welcome all again here on your wonderful show. It's Sankofa. Your host is Maponga J. My guest is Udata Ubuntu, Dr. Buntu himself in the studio, sharing with us the greater space of how best do we grow up man, how do we grow up young men, how do we build homes, how do we build the nation. And do you remember about a month ago, we had a whole month dedicated to women. And once in a while, let's take a branch or so. It's not always proper that we can always talking women. Sometimes we must also talk about men. Because even in the issues of abuse and all these imbalances that the society is facing, men are usually the perpetrators of these crimes. And how often do our governments, social departments, and religious organizations focus on the victims rather than actually having a conversation, developmental conversation, a long-term process on developing, educating, teaching, sharing, and strengthening the bonds, the whole dignity of manhood. So yeah, Bogogo on the side of my grandmother's side, these are the Masizibas. Bogogo on the temple side, these are the Mbonambis, the doers for beauty. Bomkulu, these are the Sbandas, through which my mother comes into space. And finally, the Mkanyas. This is where my father comes from. And that's the compass of every African, that you understand that you are actually connected to the four tribes that are flowing into you. And if you understand those four, immediately when you begin to see people around, you're not looking for enemies, you're looking for relatives. So you come to me and say, Siziba, Mbedzi, Ziva, Gogo, that kind of thing. And someone comes and says, Mbonambi, do it. How? Someone comes and says, Mkanya, brother. Someone says, Mkulu. So, in an African respect system, and I think this is very critical, that we begin to build that wavelength. And if you understand, if we are one, then you make 4, from 4, then you have 8, from the 8 you have 16. If you can just trace your roots about 3 to 4 times backwards, you may actually start finding that there's no need for war. There's no need for fighting with each other. And I want to give you, last time I tricked you.
Completely. So today I have a script. I'm just gonna.
I saw you complaining on Facebook and say, I went to this show, and this is what I wanted to talk about. By the time Maponga J was done with me, I had revealed some family secrets. But some people are actually happy because they've never heard you
exactly
relating, the family side of you. So today I would.
No regrets. No regrets. We need to go all
fantastic.
Over,
Let's start off with.
Thank you so much.
Let's start off with reintroducing you again, but not on top of the program. Sure. Tell us some things that you are doing, projects that you are doing on the men's section, and etc. Some of the couple, I know you are involved, your hands in quite a number of pots. Sure. Maybe just introduce us again to yourself and the projects that are on your hands as we talk.
Thank you so much. Again, it's a great honor to be on Sankofa, and Sankofa being such an important African knowledge system in itself, being able to look back but continue to go forward. I think it really sets, it's such a great and simple way of explaining what African life must be about. So I'm Baba Buntu. I am executive director of a company called Ebukosini Solutions based in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Ebukosini Solutions.
Yes, the house of royalty. So what we do a number of projects and programs in communities. We base all we do in African knowledge. We work a lot with young people. We work a lot with families. And I also have, over the years, ended up working with a number of men's projects and men's issues. And I thought maybe I could share a little bit of light on that, because as you say, and I think we haven't really arrived, but we have gotten better at talking about the many atrocities that women face. But we're still struggling with talking about some of the things that men go through. And I think that's become, I don't know what to call it, a passion, an interest, something that I've I feel it has come more to me than me actually going out seeking it. But I now know, for instance, which, there's a lot of stereotypes and portrayals of African men in media, and there's many stereotypes. Some of them are true. I mean, there are some of us who are violent, there are some of us who are very broken. And I'd like to talk about that actually, because I don't use the word toxic masculinity much. I like to talk about broken masculinity. But I now know that there's a number of men who are actually willing to talk. They just need to know that they'll not be laughed at, they will not be ridiculed, they will be listened to. And once you can set up a safe space for that, many African men are very willing to share, very willing to try to understand what it takes for them to heal, to go through some of the traumas that they have lived for a very long time, and also how they can contribute both to empower themselves, but also to empower their families, people around them. Many of us don't know that we even can do that, because we were not nurtured into knowing that we are worthy, we are capable, we are supposed to be here. So for me, that's a very important message, of course, to send to all African humanity, but I sometimes find myself in spaces where the message is particularly directed at African men.
When you're dealing with African men in these couple of sessions that you have had with them, what would be maybe 3 or 4 key issues that you find to be the cause of that brokenness you're talking about? And maybe in the backdrop of that again, what could be the 3 to 4 solutions around those issues?
Sure. So let me just explain why I don't use the term toxic masculinity that much, because it's a buzzword. First of all, when you think of toxic, so I'm drinking water. If there's a drop of something that I'm not supposed to drink that comes into this water, my water is toxified, right? But for me, it's not a strong enough symbolism to what we talk about. We need to remember that as African people, men and women, we have been cast, designed, broken in a very particular way. We were not supposed to be human. We couldn't be exploited to the extent that our oppressors wanted to exploit us. If we continue to think we are worthy, we are dignified, we are cultured, we come from a place. So it was very important for them to kind of erase our worth, our soul, our center. So in the space of men, and I'm not saying that it's only men, but since I'm talking about men, one of the things that our oppressors did specifically to African men was to infantilize us, meaning cast us as boys. And boys are lazy, boys don't want to work, boys want to get away with things, boys steal, boys lie, boys do all kinds of immature things. And that has kind of become the stereotype of what an African man is, to some extent. And we live with this because these were traumatic experiences. Remember how much that was done to us, to torture us, to kill us in very, very, very morbid ways. And over the years, because we were enslaved, we were colonized, we were taken away, we lost so much over these hundreds and hundreds of years that this was done to us, so much that we became a different type of man. And we became men that, at least for many of us, we started to struggle with family, we started to struggle with understanding where's our power, and we then started to look at those who oppressed us and started to kind of look, I would say we almost started to copy a form of power that we have learned through colonial ways. So when I, for instance, in my African home, as an African man, talk to my African wife and say that, don't even talk to me, you are a woman. When I say that, it is not an African voice, it is not my voice, it's not who I used to be, but it's who I became based on what was done to us collectively. And when I say that, because some people say, yeah, but you see, now we go again, we want to blame our oppressors, we want to go back in time. We need to deal with what is now. And I completely agree, we need to deal with what is now. But just as if I had an accident X amount of years ago, and that's the reason I keep limping, I can't say I'm not going to talk about the accident, I don't want to go back to the origin of my injury. I will have to do that so that I can get help to really repair what was done. So I use the word broken masculinity because it was an intentional design to make sure we should never become the men of power, of strength, of validity that we once were. So when you ask, what are some examples of the brokenness that comes through in conversations? I would say many of us as men, we don't know. It's almost like we act like we're not supposed to be here. meaning we don't know how to take our space in a genuine and natural way. So many of us think that power means that I need to make somebody smaller than me. So that's how some of us relate to women.
There's a Nigerian proverb, actually, which is also, you can find it in Shona, that says a tall man does not lose his height by bowing to a short man. So it's not about your strength being measured by how many other people you can press down.
Exactly, and that's true. But the problem is that we have lived with the reality for such a long time. Even today, it works if you are brutal. People will listen to you. They may not respect you in the genuine way, but they will fear you.
For fear,
They will give space for you. They will let you enter. They will stand back. Some will not criticize you if you come with brutality in some instances, because we have been conditioned to think of that as power. So there is, and I think this is what is so important for me to say as a society where we sometimes have rape, where we have killing of black bodies. We can't just, for instance, two men say, men, go and sort yourselves out, stop raping. And then we, as women, will wait for you until you're done.
These slogans, enough is enough.
You know what I mean?
You know
what I mean?
Then you stand with the slogan and you think that that message will, because what you're saying is very critical. It's one thing to say enough is enough as a slogan on the political circle. But how do you translate that enough is enough into the psyche and the mindset of the young men and the people who are perpetrating these crimes, so that it actually informs the quality of their decision? In your own experience, what has been the reason, or what has been the cause of that disjoint between a reality we face of women abuse and the amount of education right now, or campaigns, or hashtags that are on the media right now, and small little marches to the you know, we've submitted a petition that men must stop this, and then walk up to the mayor and we give him a small little piece of paper that men must stop raping. Then we go back home and say, no, we've accomplished something. And me and you by now, the color of our beard,
you know what I mean,
will tell us this is window dressing. Because the problem is far much deeper than a walk to the city hall. The question is, what would be solutions into permeating, infiltrating the entire psyche of the African men, so that we can actually evade, avoid, protect, you know, our women from this kind of abuse.
Absolutely. So what we have done as Ebukusini Solutions, we have created a program about 10, 11 years ago called Shabbat, Men of Africa. And we want to bring the African man back to himself, basically. And what that means is self-knowledge, knowledge of our history, understanding what has happened to us on many, many levels.
Is it like an educational?
It's an educational, it's an introspective journey into yourself.
Take us through. What do you do there?
So what that means, for instance, one thing we start with is, people, our women tell us that we are not good talkers. We will say, what's wrong? We say, no, there's nothing. But you never talk. Like, why can't you say what's on your mind? Because some of us think we're not allowed to. We're not supposed to. People will laugh if we say what's on our mind. Some people will be upset with us if we say what. So we perform our masculinity. We believe that being men is something we need to do to make other people believe that we are strong men. While inside, many of us feel very insecure, but we can never talk about it. So one of the things we do, for instance, we work with images. So maybe there's an image of a man who's looking very angry like this, another one is crying, another one is running fast, for instance. Then we ask men, what do you see in this image? And what is very interesting with that methodology is, because many men are, if we say, let's open up, what is your biggest fear? I'm not going to start talking about my biggest fear, like that's not going to happen. But when I get the distance enough to talk about something that is a bit outside myself, but at the same time actually inviting a conversation that is about me, because what men say then is that this is my father. Because he always told me that when he grew up, he was angry, and I think that's what made him violent. For instance, you have just told us a story that you were abused by your father.
Indirectly,
Indirectly.
So it's almost like, I mean, I like that. It almost falls into a behavior modification psychological framework, where you create an inanimate or something outside, then you discuss it, and let's talk about a dog.
Exactly, exactly.
Then we talk about the dog, what it does,
then you have some distance.
And there's a nice distance.
Yeah, true.
But by the end of the discussion, I could actually have confidence to say,
exactly.
maybe you are the dog.
exactly.
You know, that kind of thing.
True.
When you come back after the break with the Bantu here, I want to hear the whole process, how we are going through, and I hope if you're in your house, you're on your phone, you know a man out there who might be needing to hear this conversation, please bring them closer and send it to your cousins, your brothers and your sisters. Share with your husband and your friends as we are busy constructing the greater masculinity of our African people. Don't go away. We'll be back right after the break.
Make massive moves.
How can you say that?
That is what it is.
Your mother eloped with someone else.
I just think this is such a genius idea. I think it's amazing.
I can be happy. It's inside you. It's inside of all of us.
It's about cooking smart that are nutritious and delicious.
President Trump acknowledging the coronavirus death toll could be significantly higher.
You don't want to do this.
There is nothing you can take.
Surviving roommates scared.
The heavyweights arrive.
Inside finds Petulia, blocked by Jane.
This is the will of God.
Make massive moves with Starsight.
In the ancient times, men used to sit around the trees, sit around the gates, and sit around the kraal, you know, and sit and have moments of talking. Even our initiation schools, over and above the modern ways of educating young people, where boys are taken to the villages or to the bushes for initiation. I've not had a quality conversation maybe with someone who is from there as to what quality of information are we sharing. Because I mean, you hear boys growing up, hey, mfaza ngangenza kanje mina ngizumshaya, you know, ngizomenza kanje. And this quality of conversation, you never know when it comes from a person that you respect. And they say, if a woman does this to me,
exactly,
okay, it might sound innocent. You know, one lamb. No woman must treat you like that. And as young boys, we filter this information into our heads. The day, boom, it happens.
Exactly.
That the disrespect happens, or the scenario that you spoke about comes into fruition. The software that we have is already punctuated by the information from the people that you respect. So actually, I want to say issues of abuse, for example, are taught in socialization and community peer conversations. So there's one word I want us to discuss from now onwards. How do we change the conversation of men? There's no man who has done evil and he has not spoken to another. The question is, when you speak to the other, what are they telling you to do? So what can we do to change the conversation, the quality of conversation between peer men?
And I like what you say with quality of conversation, because we talk about African knowledge systems, and this is a very profound space. You gave an illustration of the spaces that men used to gather under trees in our community, the Lekgotla. And to some extent, those spaces have either disappeared or they have changed their nature.
Now they're drinking. We're drinking liquor.
Seriously.
People sit around.
And it's the saddest thing, because my experience, and I'm saying this across all different characteristics of men, because I know when I say this, some people say, yeah, I know there's some men who are interested in talking, but you don't know my uncle, he's not going to talk. You don't know my younger brother, he's not going to talk. I'm not going to say every single man is willing to talk, at least not in the beginning. But I would say that over these 10 years that we've been working with Shabaka, we have seen a number of men that when we tell their spouses or their children or their relatives that this is the conversation we had with your father or husband, say, I don't believe you. Because there's something about the validation that we can give to each other as men. There's a healing potential that we carry.
Non-threatening, welcoming, and when you discover, and
the thing
I'm
is,
not alone in this thing.
That's the thing.
And then
that's the
all
thing.
of a sudden,
and you find out that this thing that you've been keeping in for 25 years, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to Maponga, and he shares something that I find, but if he can share that, why was I even scared of sharing what I'm going through? Next to what you're saying now, my problem doesn't even seem that bad. And I think that opens up something. I'm not saying then it's done, everything is healed, but that opens up something. I think and this is the struggle we have had with Shabaka as well, is that the work takes time. And because many of us, this is often what happens, men come to Shabaka session, they sit in the beginning, they're very skeptical. What is this? Who are these people? Talk about what? For what? I'm not going to talk about anything. And then you listen to one, he's opening. Wow, he talks like that. Never heard a man talk like that. Maybe that's just him. Another one talks. What? What's going on here? I've never heard this. Third man talking. Yeah, ish. Now, and you find yourself sucked into a story like you are listening with your whole body.
And you can hear yourself.
Exactly. And you say, hey, but that's me. I've experienced that.
I've also gone through that.
I didn't have the words, but that's me.
There's another session that actually which has been underplayed.
Yeah.
And I say so with a very deep understanding. I've not been a victim myself.
Sure.
Which is grace.
True.
Where the issue of child molestation. But we are looking at women.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's be more focused today.
Yeah, true.
We have spoken enough about women being abused by men. But I think we need to just twist the table a little bit.
Yeah.
And begin also to talk about how women have abused young boys.
Absolutely.
Number two, how uncles, fathers, in their selection of their sexuality, on the homosexual side, let's be frank, gloves off. You're an adult, you choose to become a homosexual. But why would you want to express your homosexuality on a young boy who has not yet decided, and this is a young boy who has not yet decided for himself that he wants to become homosexual. And then these issues are always pushed under the carpet. And it is true. And I must say, in some of the initiation schools, the boys are going for initiation, and in some cases, you are being initiated by the same sex, and then your virginity as a boy as part of breaking you down. And these are things that are happening in the bushes.
And this is an aspect of the breaking that we continue.
Yes, and it's perpetuated and maintained and protected. Apparently, you cannot talk about what happened in the mountain.
True.
Say I'm a man.
What happens at
Say
the mountain stays at the mountain.
Say I'm a man.
Yeah, exactly.
There you are with this anger. You went there, one thing, by the time you come back, you no longer know, am I male, am I female?
Seriously.
The anger.
The confusion.
And what are we saying? What are we saying as community leaders?
Maponga, let me share this. So we have an intervention that we call Men on the Mountain, which is spending a day on the mountain.
I missed that one last year.
You missed that one. I'm going to call you back to that one.
Okay.
So basically on the mountain, we have some ceremonial processes we go through, but the main gist is that we want you to go deep into yourself and ask yourself, am I ready to commit for family? Whether you are already married, or if you're thinking of getting married, or even if you have been married and you're now divorced, am I willing to commit to family? Am I a person that a good woman should be looking for? That's the question. Wow. And then we have a sequence where we ask, what is your first memory of a sexual experience? Do you know that I would say for over all these years that we've been doing this, I would say that 6 out of 10 young or men of all ages say, for me, it started when I was 4. For me, it started when I was 7. For me, it started when I was 6. What started? What do you mean, what started? I had a childminder, I had an auntie, I had a cousin.
Who was fondling me in the bathroom?
Yes. And she asked me to take off my pants, and she did things I didn't understand, and I was scared, I felt awkward. And what everyone says is, because, and it is men, it's women, it's younger, it's all kinds of things that happen. So prevalent, and we don't talk about it. And then what all men would say This, when I then came to the stage of my life where I actually was waking up sexually, I was already marked. So I became super intensely interested in sex. I had sex all over the place. And what is that? Aren't we saying that about young men going out having reckless sex? But are we checking why? Are we understanding the patterns?
You're saying something very, very critical. Because, and by the way, maybe the blessing that we have as community leaders sometimes, it is not trying to become politically correct.
Sure.
I think that sometimes we must become honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
We understand the issue of employment and work. People must survive.
Sure.
People make children and then dump them with nannies, throw them in creches, throw them in where, because umama uyasebenza kaloku.
True.
Mommy must make money.
Those
otherwise we're going to die.
Yeah.
But if we can look around these spaces of and the social systems that we have come to run and keep our children in, the question is how safe are these environments?
True.
I mean, you're already exposing the child in an unsafe space in their own home.
True.
In their own home. Imagine the tension when this kid is being abused by a nanny. You as a mother are not aware of it.
True.
Imagine the tension this child must live with for the next 4, 5, 6 years. Every time you take away the child and place them in the nanny's hand. And what are we building into the DNA of these young people? And I think, for saying the least, if you cannot bring them up, don't bring them in. If you are busy,
no, it's very true.
If you are
it's
busy,
very true.
and you know that your career is important right now, maybe pursue your career.
True. Make a better choice, because you are also bringing in an individual in a world that is not managing itself very well right now. And that's, to bring that point back to African knowledge systems. For instance, in African knowledge systems, we know that we need to teach a child to respect their elders. Like, regardless, you respect an elder. But now we live in times when it's not safe to necessarily say...
respect the elder.
Yes. So when an elder says, I'm going to take the child away with me. No, I'm not sure if you're going to take the child away with me.
No.
I don't know when the abuse is going to happen. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know who's going to do it. So now we become, even in our own homes. Why is he looking at my child? What is this? Is it okay to...
You can't even trust.
Is my child really sleeping, or what is happening? Like, it becomes so awkward
in some certain cases, you can't even trust the husband with his own daughter.
Maponga, it's
later on the uncle
beyond
with the daughter, later on the mother with the son, or the sister with the brother. Now we're not talking about brokenness. I want us to go back there. Back there in terms of there's a story actually that came out during the corona space. A woman almost committed suicide where they were locked up because of this corona thing, and the girl got pregnant. Only for the mother to discover that the brother, had made the sister pregnant in their own house. Where else could they go? They were all locked up in this house and they're staying together. They're both sexually active. And you cannot go to the shops and buy contraception. There they are in a space, and boom, as a mother, you're now a grandmother to your own child with your own child, that kind of incest at that level. So maybe what I really want us to start talking about is if we are broken to this level, as we go forward, what do you think we must start doing?
So, you know what, Maponga, and I want to say this, I have to start with myself. And I think this is your lane as well, because as elders, conscious elders who care, elders who are not just sitting around for respect to be bestowed upon us. That's not my mission in this life. My mission is to use the experience I have for the betterment of the younger generation. So I need to go out of my way to show the younger generation that it's safe to talk to me, you can confide in me, I can give you some guidance. And I think this, what I find, Maponga, when I travel to, and I'm not talking just about South Africa now, I'm talking about Africa as a continent and the African world, even in the diaspora. Young people are ready right now. There's a window. Young people in the African world has waken up. They're reading books. They're asking questions. They are critical in their mind. But the window will not be there forever. So the question is, where are we? Like, where is our generation? Because young people are literally saying, guide me. I have questions. I'm not sure if church is really the only thing. I'm not sure if Christianity is really working for me. I'm not sure why I'm made to hate an African spirituality I don't even understand. Guide me. And they say, but you need to focus on your schoolwork. Just get good grades. Just get a job. Just make sure you have a car so we can brag at so when we go over to the neighbor, we can say, your son has
my child is
a nice
now
car now.
That's
all we want to do.
Now. He's a doctor now. And maybe while you're on that also, I need to raise something. I received a call from Harare last week from a cousin, actually informing me that we have a problem in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
I think it's late, but it has just arrived now, the wave of pornography.
Yeah. Oh, deep issue.
With
deep issue.
Android phones.
Yeah, exactly.
With
availability
availability of the internet.
Absolutely.
That actually boys and girls have caught up on this appetite for pornography.
True.
And the impact of that kind of information. And here we are, sitting as adults again.
True.
As government institutions, we have one agenda to make information available and la-di-da. And on the other end, the information is reaching in a different wavelength.
True.
Here we are trying to teach life. Here we are approving non-government organizations of abortions. Here we are teaching uprightness of character. Here we are teaching violence on TV. So it's like
it's very messed
it's
up.
one step forward. And 16 steps backwards.
True.
When you look at this whole framework of the societal defragmentation.
Exactly.
And the issues that I'm raising.
Absolutely. So my approach to that is, and I'm calling out my own age group because I know from experience how much we are needed. Not just to come in as moral fingers poking young men and women and saying that you are nonsense. Look at yourself. You don't even know what you are doing. Not that, but asking, why are you doing this? What's happening? Can I just sit here and listen to you? Take me through what's going on in your life. Many young people are ready to have that conversation. As long as you can promise them that you're not going to laugh, you're not going to ridicule, you're not going to do all those things that makes it awkward to share things that you're already ashamed of. Young people want to get rid of their addictions. Young people want to not be high all the time.
They want to succeed.
They want to succeed. They want to make something out of themselves. They want to create a track record that they can look back and say, I think I'm doing okay. Thanks to your guidance, thanks to everyone who has inspired me. But a lot of young people cannot see. They live their lives in shame.
While you're on that, I need to emphasize also, maybe let's punch in some holes. First of all, that I think we can punch on the wall is that please, it's not proper that any young person, any father, any mother should abuse any child has a right of growing up in our hands safely.
Absolutely.
My daughter must walk up to me and kiss me.
True.
And there must be no side effects.
Exactly.
A young boy must walk up to his mother.
True.
And give his mother a hug.
Exactly.
And there must be no side effects.
And it's beautiful.
Because this is the first clean space where we have a relationship.
Absolutely.
But
so if it's contaminated,
it's not sexual. It's not sexual.
Exactly.
It remains clean.
Exactly. Yeah.
So maybe we need to punch that one as the first one on the wall. That if there is any infant, if there is any child that is in your hands, allow that child to grow up well in your hands.
Exactly.
They should hug you. They should kiss you. You should hold your hands and walk with you. And there must be no side effects of that relationship. Keep those relationships pure.
True.
Number two, the whole I want to punch again in terms of us growing and developing the African space is the conversations and the quality of conversations, both on the women's side and on the men's side that we must be having, is the relationships of support. And the creating role models in the community who are vandalizing that fiber. With all due respect, Usisa Zodwa, may his soul be blessed. But when you begin to create role models in the community who are 30, 40, 60, who are now molesting young boys who are 18, 19, 20, vis-a-vis old men who are in their 70s, who are going to be jumping into bed with 16 for 15-year-olds. Because some of these things, again, on a cultural side, coming from that space, even in the cultural space, it needs to be cleaned up.
That's so true.
Even some of the cultural people will look at you having some bad luck or some things that have happened in your life and poor advice. No, this thing can be fixed. You must go and find a virgin girl.
Yeah,
you must go and find a young, clean young girl. When you sleep with them, and then he is the muti, then your things are going to be sorted out. So I'm not selecting.
Sure.
I almost came up with a statement last week that said, I must make a declaration that no woman is allowed to go to church as long as there's a man who is a pastor.
Sure.
Because how do you begin to protect the vulnerable from the strong?
Exactly.
And this whole space has become contaminated.
True.
Over to you, sir.
No, it's so true. And I wanted to say that this is why we chose to work with young people. We work, I would say 90% we work with young people because young people need guidance and they need safe spaces and they need to know that they can say what's on their mind without just being shouted at. And of course they will also have to tolerate that they will be disciplined when they need to be disciplined. So I'm not saying everything needs to be touched with
that's why I brought this.
You see what I mean?
That's why I brought this stick
But
today.
when this is the only way, and that's what some young people experience, that whatever they say, whenever they
the
go,
only time you know that your father loves you is at the end of the stick.
You understand what I mean?
That's when he touches you. You know, he never touches you with his hands.
Exactly.
He touches the end of his rod.
And in that moment, you are creating another perpetrator.
When you come back after the break, I remember my mother's proverb: if you cannot hear through your ears, you're going to hear through your bums. Don't go away. We'll be back after the break.
Tech Talk brought to you by Tamani Technologies and Systems. Tamani Technologies and Systems takes leadership in fourth industrial revolution. The whole world is facing a transformation. The revolution will be developed into the following stages: digitization, cyber security, Internet of Things, managed services, document management, and business applications. We provide business transformation and ICT solutions with presence in 13 African countries and 2 European countries. We are your leading partner in integrated platform providers, innovation leaders, standalone products, and innovation pace setters. Tamani Technologies and Systems, delivering value across continents.
Welcome welcome all again one more time here on the show, your Sankofa wonderful show. Thank you for giving us access into your homes, on your phones, in your TVs, wherever you are on the face of Africa. With me on the show tonight is Baba Buntu, taking us through the greater issues and what exactly is affecting our men. How are we growing and developing this masculine story? And I want to say something that is quite important. Is it possible that actually our young people want to do the right thing? And I know that. Every young person, when they are sitting alone, they want a house, they want a car, they want a wife, a husband. They also want to bring up their own children. Only when something is psychologically wrong, like someone can say, and immediately they say it, you know there's a problem, there's a deeper problem. But if you're brought up under a normal, what I might want to call normal, healthy environment, you want to build a good home.
No,
In your experience of working with young people, lots of young people are living just fart and set, what they call fart and set, whatever. They're just staying, staying
just
together.
moving in and
actually, some of them don't even wait until they are working. It's as early as college days.
Exactly.
They are already husbands and wives in universities and etc. When you look at the quality of challenges and the types of problems that the young people are encountering on their development into building homes, what do you tend to find as the causes
Sure.
or the challenges that are making them not to make the right decisions and build constructive homes?
I think there's many challenges, but two I want to surface strongly is the multiple levels of poverty of thought, poverty of economy, poverty of politics, poverty of society, and also guidance, lack of guidance. Many young people, and because I come from a different area and I had a lot of challenges in my growing up, but I had dreams, I had visions. I thought one day things are going to be better. A lot of young people don't think it's going to get better. A lot of young people relate to the world as if it's true that things are not going to get better. We're not really going to get anywhere. So that opens up a stream for a lot of young people to just think right now, what works for me now. We're compatible, we're doing the same thing, we can share bills, let's just move in together. Like practical. Our parents don't approve, but so what? We're in the city, they don't know. They're back in the village, for instance. And as you do that, nobody has guided you to say that as much as you think that's okay, you haven't thought about what this means culturally, spiritually. Are you mature enough for this? Are you going to end up even being man or woman?
While you're moving together, boom, there's a child.
Seriously.
Then it gets complicated.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying that the multiple levels of poverty make a lot of young people feel, and it's not ridiculous. I think from the perspective of a young African in this world, the world doesn't look very great. There's a lot of oppressive phenomena in this world. There's white supremacy, there's the economy, the leadership of this continent. And then it comes to what I said, the second part, the guidance. Because many young people, and I know that some of us find that, but now you're exaggerating, now you're making everything like it's absolutely nothing. But many young people look at our generation and say, but what am I supposed to do with you? You guys just judge us. You just look at us funny. You just think we are nonsense. So we're not going to come to you to ask for questions. And when you, as my uncle or as my relative, come and say, come and sit here. So what's going on in your life? I'm just going to say what I think you want me to say. I'm not going to say that I'm frustrated. I don't know myself. You haven't taught me my language, which is an issue that is coming more and more now, how we relate to languages, how we relate to power, how we relate to creating families. Because a lot of young people, the only thing they know is that they don't want to repeat what they have seen, maybe in their own home or on the block where they live. They don't want that. So where do they go for the guidance of what they actually want? And then it becomes the dream. Then it becomes the R&B song. Then it becomes the Toni Braxton show. Then it becomes the elusive fantasies that are out in all these books and magazines. And young people become very open to those dreams, and they try to live those dreams right now. So this is the whole Instagram world. You can be famous right now. And famous is good. If I feel completely bad about myself, my parents are ashamed of me, I haven't done anything, but if I can push up my chest as a man and a lot of girls like me, I'm going to go for that. So it's like we are starting to live, especially young people are starting to live for the just here and now. What happens in 5 years from now, I don't know. But I'm going to do something that works now.
The other one was saying, okay, sometimes the over-exaggeration of the external portrayal of who I am actually shows the deficit of what really you are on the inside.
But you see, Maponga, why I think that works so well with us, and I'm not saying we are the only people in the world that do these things, but I think it sits with us in a particular way because we come from a long history of being made commodities. We have already been made commodities. So when we talk to our young girls and say, don't dress like that, don't look like you're cheap. But young girls say, but this is the only thing I can do. The only thing I can do, I have nothing.
The only thing I know, and
it works. Men do look at me, young girls will say, and they give me money, and they take me out, and I got attention. So why are you blaming? Why are you looking at me funny? What can you give me then? Apart from just criticizing me. So there's something about our family structure. We can't just, again, just like we can't just single out men and say, go and fix yourself. We also can't say to young people, go and fix yourself. They're supposed to be guided by us. So if we upset with them, if they disappoint us, I think the first people we need to look at is ourselves.
And I think maybe while you're on that, while you are rounding up also, is the issue of now starting to look at maybe role modeling or role models.
Absolutely.
What quality of role models do we have in the community?
Sure.
Those that work for the government and then they steal money and then they buy 41 Porsche cars.
Exactly.
Or it is those that are in the movie industry who are acting.
True.
And then they become role models.
Exactly.
Or are they those that are what quality? When did we actually have a role model
exactly.
of a farmer?
True.
When did you have a role model of a decent man who is working for the municipality, sweeping the street?
True.
And he has a decent family, a decent job.
Exactly.
And so maybe this whole media packaging of what is a role model has been lied to by these lights.
Oh, completely.
And sunscreens. And
Maponga, we don't have a TV in our home, and we don't judge anyone. If TV works for you, then have it. But for us, it doesn't work. We don't want to get obsessed with what's happening on a screen. We don't want to get stories to us that we never even asked for. We don't even want to have that in our mind. It's going to come anyway, even when you don't have a TV. But we want to engage the family. We want to have discussions. I want to know, how is my elder? How is my son? How is my daughter? I want to know what's going on in your lives. And this is the thing we do. We let this box talk, and we just sit there and we stare out to the air, and it's awkward to talk.
The other person phoned me the other day with a problem, and they asked me, how do you set up a family altar? Then I said to them, can you take me through your lounge? How it looks like. Then they told me, no, we have a C shape. And I said, and what is the C shape looking at? They said it's looking at the TV. And I said, can you turn the C shape and face the other wall? And then put a stage there.
Shrine.
And then every evening, every member of the family must go there. And that fella at the back there, you can watch as and when you want to watch. But start listening to each other. And it's amazing what you're saying. It's amazing that in our generation, some voices in the TV screen are louder than the parents. Some voices are louder than the children. A child will have a nappy changed after the soapy.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Everything has to be on hold.
Mommy is watching Mugango, mommy is watching General, mommy is watching Spire, mommy is watching. The boy has messed himself up. And he must just wait another 10
It actually has
minutes.
a religious feel to it. It has a very strong religious feel to it because we are dictated by it. The TV tells us what we must discuss, what we must be worried about, what we now must get and buy. It's very dangerous. So for me, I wanted to add to something you said about what young people need in role models. I think one thing, in addition to what you said, young people also need to see us being warrior-like. And when I say warrior-like, it doesn't mean that you fight all the time. So it means sometimes you are quiet, you don't respond, but you hold yourself in a dignity. You don't choose not to answer because you are scared or because you just want to hide or you're uncomfortable, but you realize that I'm not going to respond to a certain comment because I know it's just going to escalate and become dramatic, and I'm not going to do that.
I want you to start summarizing on the spirituality of the African man. And what do you think could be missing there, and what are the possible solutions?
So remember, spirituality has been brought to us as a feminine quality. We might not like that or might not agree that it is that, but very much spirituality has been taught to us through the Western understanding of who we are supposed to be as men, as something you bow down to, you submit to, you kneel, you pray, you come under it. It sounds like everything opposite to what we have been told.
And by the way, Jesus is the man. And the church is the woman.
Even that.
So every man in church is actually a woman. You know?
So there's something that has dislocated our understanding, and maybe what I should quickly hasten to also add, when we talk about masculinity and understanding myself as a man, part of that can never be really understood if I don't understand the woman, the African woman, because the African woman is my reflection. So if I say, so for instance, in Shabbat, we're not a gender project. We're not going to say, yeah, we are men. No, women just go away. We are men. I have a problem with, I understand the necessity for many women's organizations, but I have a problem when the whole point is to kind of just be women. Like us, we don't need anyone. To be a full woman, you also need to see your reflection in the African man. And it's not about coming under him or being less than him. We are supposed to be like this. And we have forgotten that. And I know it's not safe to just face the world and say, let's be equal, because there's a lot of disparities, there's a lot of oppression.
Equality does not mean sameness.
Thank you.
I mean, it's the equality of respect.
Why would we be the same?
I mean, honestly,
that's the whole point.
Then you find these modern women sitting on the veranda with their boy between their legs, putting some controls on their heads, you know, twisting their hair. And you're looking at this woman and say, really? Is this thing, that you are twisting the head and teaching him how to polish his nails? Is he going to use those nails for building up a house? I mean, without stereotypes, of course.
No, sure.
Some people might want to look at me and say, I'm being stereotyped. Hey, I'm old. I'm grown up now.
No, but there's a lot of confusion.
And
There's a lot of mess.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mess. And I think, I get you. I'm also old school, but I also want to criticize certain aspects of the old school. I cannot say everything we did before is untoxic and completely healed and fine. But I think what you asked me to summarize the African man and spirituality. I think this is why I think it is so important that we understand what African spirituality is, because there is a script for us. There's a script that brings us into a place where we actually find our solution based on our reality. And this is why where we need to remember that African knowledge is not something we go back to, it's something we bring forth. We just like Sankofa, we need to look back to remember the connection point, because we are already broken and confused. But once we can get that connection, the only direction we're supposed to actually walk in is forward.
It's forward, yes.
So I understand young people when they say, because we give young people the notion that culture is going back. So they say, but I want to go forward. No, come back. You need to go. Why do I have to do this? No, it's just what we do. You must be a true Zulu. What? You must be true Zulu. We don't explain what and why. And that's where many young people say, but culture doesn't work. Why are you doing all these things? It doesn't work. And they want to leave it. And that's, I feel, to a very large degree, is on us.
Babe Buntu is right here with us in studio at Universal Galaxy. Your last parting shot to the millions of Africans who are listening to you on the entire continent. What would you want to say as your parting words?
You know what? I just want us to wake up. I want us to wake up. We were sleeping. We have a lot of intruders on this continent who understand the value of Africa. That's why they invest so much in our oppression and keeping us out of the picture. We seem to be the only people who don't really see the value of the continent.
We're not aware of where
we are not aware.
Everyone else knows.
Exactly.
Except us.
It's time for some people to now be told that, you know what, right now we're good. We're gonna sort this out.
We can do without you.
When we need you, we'll
call you.
Exactly.
We'll call you.
But right